Hey, Stephen Burkhart here with Burkhart Creative Agency. On our previous video, check it out here, I talked to B2B and B2C businesses about how often they should talk about certain services of their business on social media in a way that's effective and gets them known. Now, personal branding to me, and I know I don't stand alone because I talk to other people that have personal brands, it's an emotional journey, right? You're talking about you, a human being. And the first thing that we got to realize is that people have very short attention spans, right? Even in physical context, like if I go and physically meet you in a place, there's the thing called an elevator pitch, which is basically like the most concise way I can possibly talk about my business. So the very short attention that I have of yours in an elevator, I can be able to explain it as clearly as needed so people can categorize it in their mind. And so as you can imagine on the internet, people's attention spans are shorter and we're fighting to scroll, right? Like I'm gonna go online and scroll through my Instagram and you're gonna catch me for a half a second and I'm gonna have to try to figure out what your brand stands for. That's a heck of a lot faster than an elevator pitch. And so the problem is we're humans and there's so much to us, right? Like I'm not just a business owner and I'm not just a videographer and I'm not just a photographer and I'm not just a father and I'm not just someone who likes coffee and I'm not just a husband and I'm not someone who just likes the outdoors. I am all of those things and more. And so are you. There's so much to you as a human being, and people think because it's a personal brand, they should be talking about every aspect of their lives, and that couldn't be further from the truth. If we look at someone like a Grant Cardone, he talks about his 10X Growth Con, and he talks about his family, and he talks like motivational. That's about it. We're talking about a man who has all the resources to make all of the content, and he really just has 3 things that he covers on his social media. We talk about Gary Vaynerchuk, he talks about building businesses, he talks about NFTs now, a little bit about like empathy, right? So we look at someone, Gary Vee, another person who has all the resources. He has like a dozen people on his personal branding team, and he's really only talking about 3 to 4 major topics, and really only 1 or 2 the vast majority of the time spent on a social media account. So should you really be any different, right? You have much less time, much less financial investment you can make, and much less energy that you can put towards writing the stories, shooting the content, posting it. So why not just hone in, right? So I'm going to do the same sort of thing. You know, you need to be talking about one thing about 70 to 80% of the time. So for my personal brand, that is _Stephen Burkhart on Instagram. I'll have a link for it. I'm really just talking about what it's like to build a business most of the time. There's so many things more to me than that, right? And then I started talking a little bit about what it's like to build a business and have a family. Related, right? Still related to the first topic, but it's kind of like a little side story, right? And so that's how I've done it, right? Just look at the different people who have strong personal brands and you'll find that most of the time they talk about 1 to 3 things, and usually one of those most of the time. And I know it's hard. Like, I'll be honest, like it's so hard to think like, oh yeah, but it's a personal brand. But don't make the mistake. I go online all the time on LinkedIn and a bunch of people who have no idea what they're talking about talk about just like, oh, just talk about anything, just share whatever. Like no one who's made it does that. So that ought to tell you like how good that advice is. So now don't even listen to my advice. Just go look to see the major players who have millions and millions of followers, and they will be very specific about what they talk about. So don't confuse personal brand with like just like, you know, word vomit. Be strategic. Talk about the things that you want to talk about the most. Be very strategic about it. Talk about it so 70 to 80% of the time. And then feel free. The other 30%, you know, 15%, sprinkle in those other fun things. Talk about the favorite coffee shops that you love. You know, talk about like how maybe you're excited about a new MacBook that came out, or, you know, talk about your family or whatever else. Sprinkle in those other things, and those will be the great connection points where people are like, hey, I followed you for this, and I realized that you have value in this area, and man, I just love you so much because of it. And that's so exciting. But if you had just talked about this one thing all the time, they would have never followed you. You just totally lost them. So yeah, so if you have a personal brand, like I said, 70-80%, be clear, be intentional, be strategic about what you share, sprinkle in with the other 30% at best, and just continue to allow it to build momentum. And who knows, you can always switch gears later. You can always take the attention, the momentum you build, aim it in a different direction, be strategic, and get known for one thing. Now go out and kill it.